And welcome back, everybody, to another edition of the Always Pressing PGA DFS podcast, your 2017 Tour Championship preview, final leg of the FedEx Cup. I am one of the hosts, Bubba. You can find me on Twitter at BDentric. And as always, I am joined by Jesse. You can find him on Twitter at DFS Golf Gods. Jesse, how we doing?
Doing well, Bubba. Missing our pal Bucks, though. Missing our pal Bucks this evening.
Yeah, Bucks is having a good time at work conventions. He'd probably rather be here, I'm guessing, but he's there.
Yeah.
Life does get in the way of things. Luckily, it's only a 30-man field. I think we might be able to handle it, but I guarantee you the course preview will not be the same.
I agree with that 100%.
We'll be back after this, just if he did not get cut, if anybody's curious. And don't forget to follow the podcast on Twitter at Always Pressing DFS. Always stuff going on over there. But before we get into the tournament this weekend, we can recap the BMW where Leishman, he caught fire the week before at the Dell, and he finished it off this week. What do you have on Leishman winning, and anything else on the tournament, Jesse?
Yeah, I mean, that was, for me, pretty surprising. Obviously he had played well the 2 weeks prior, but he pretty much lit that last tournament on fire with his play, and really did surprise me. I mean, he's obviously a very good golfer, but I didn't think that he was that good, because traditionally he'll play good for a tournament and then kind of fall off a little bit, and that just didn't happen this past weekend. And very impressive with his final score there. I think he finished at 23. Finished at 23, which was 5 shots clear of Justin Rose and Ricky Fowler. So awesome golf by him. 62, 64, 68, 67. His putter was just lights out.
Yeah. Anybody else that kind of caught your attention going into the final weekend, or in a good or a bad way?
Yeah, Justin Rose, obviously he played very well all 4 rounds, under 70. Jason Day had a nice resurgence too, and I thought that he was going to be more in contention, but his weekend was kind of it just wasn't as good as I anticipated after opening with the 64 and a 65. I mean, he was right there on Saturday, but just didn't go low enough. Kuchar backdoors the top 10 again. I mean, it's just pretty much on point there. Tony Finau had a really, really good kind of bookend rounds. And he finished 13 under, and he played really well. I was impressed with his play. And Patrick Cantlay, once again, I mean, he's there, top 10. So a lot of cool guys. As far as disappointments for me, I wasn't on Rory, but it's pretty disappointing to see him not competing. It sucks. I think golf is better when Rory McIlroy is playing good golf. And I mean, there was just you can go down the list here and talk about all these guys, but I mean, the golf tournament, besides the big names didn't really show up. Dustin Johnson, Jordan Spieth had a nice decent round on Saturday to come back, but DJ didn't play well all weekend until Sunday, so he was disappointing for me.
And like you said, Rory, it's crazy. He finishes 58th in the FedEx Cup standings. That's pretty cool, crazy.
Yeah.
When you think about the talent of him, but it goes to show the year he's had. It's just been wow. But yeah, we have a lot to look forward going into this week. The Tour Championship at East Lake in Atlanta. Do you want to give some past history, and then I'll attempt a course preview that's half as good as Bucks?
I can help you with a little bit or whatever. But so basically this tournament has been played here every year since 2004 at least. I mean, there were some years where it wasn't, and it was before that. But anyways, for our purposes, it's all that really matters anyway, because we're not going back farther than maybe 2011, one way or the other. But Rory McIlroy won last year in a playoff over Kevin Chappell and Ryan Moore, finished -12. Jordan Spieth won 2 years ago, 2015. He shot 9 under, and that was 4 strokes clear of the field. Billy Horschel was your 2014 champion. He finished -11. Henrik Stenson finished -13 in 2013. And all those guys also won the FedEx Cup. So that's pretty important as well. A couple trophies playing for this week.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a minute. But like you said, pretty much if you win this event, usually you win the FedEx Cup. But not always. We'll get into more on that in a little bit here. But the course preview, I did do some prep. I'm trying on this one. It's a Donald Ross design, a little less than 7,200 yards, which is long for a par 70 course. But at the same time, it's very, very approachable to regular hitters. Narrow fairways, big Bermuda rough, they're saying. So driving accuracy will be much more important than distance. If the guy's crushing it and accurate, well, then he's going to be in play big time this week. But if he's spraying it all over the place, it could get interesting. They're saying greens and regulation are very big. These fairways are so narrow, a stat that I did find since 2010 when they did one of their latest remodels. On average, only 53% of the field's hitting the fairways. So that's why accuracy is so important at this event. And then they altered the Bermuda greens, so it makes the putting much more difficult because the early goings in the FedEx Cup at this event, it was easy for these boys. They were blowing and going. So since then, it's been a lot more difficult. So you want to look at guys that put well on Bermuda, accurate drivers, greens and regs, those kind of deals. Anything else that I like Wyndham? The Wyndham is a very good correlation. I've been reading.
No, I'll second all that. I mean, I think, yeah, like what you said, they changed the course up, I think, in 2007, if I'm guessing off of what you just said, because before that, all the scores were in double digits, and Tiger Woods blitzed the field at 23 under in 2007. So I'm sure that what happened was they did a remodel and tried to Tiger-proof it like a lot of other golf courses out there, lengthen it, make it more difficult overall, because 23 under is pretty ridiculously low. And then since then, I mean, pretty much – for the most part, probably average score winning is about -8 around in there. So maybe -9, but one way or the other, it's definitely more difficult than it was in 2007. So I mean, if I'm looking at course history, I'm not going back past 2008. Either way, I mean, I still would just rather take more recent course history if I'm looking at that. But yeah, accuracy is going to be good, and then obviously driving distance is still a huge factor in my opinion, because if the course is playing, super long at a par 70, 2 par 5s, the bombers are going to have an advantage, even if they hit it in the rough, like we've talked about, and is known. They're still going to. I'd still be rather hitting a 9 iron out of the rough than a 4 or 5 iron out of the fairway. So,
no doubt. Yeah, you're not going to count DJ out just because he's not that accurate. That's just it's just not going to be the case, at least not for that reason. But yeah, that same year that Tiger shot that 23, the note on this article, Zach Johnson shot a 60 in that round and still didn't get to Tiger. So yeah. That's how crazy that course was. And scoring's rather low for the most part compared to what we've seen recently. But last time we said that, they blitzed the course. So we shall see how this weekend goes. Speaking of this weekend, we'll talk about some of the FedEx Cup standings. We know we're down to the final 30. I'm not going to read them all to you. You can look at your DraftKings list, and that's where they are. But Jesse did mention in recent history, if you go in as a top 5 in the rankings, usually that's your winner in the top 5. And if someone in, say, the top 5, even to the top 10 almost, wins this tournament, they're probably going to win the FedEx. So, like you said, there's a lot on the line. That FedEx is, another $10 million by itself or something? Maybe crazier than that.
Yeah, $10 million. They do the points week bet, so it's a lot tighter than it was last week.
Oh, it's massively tighter than it was last week, and it's one of the tighter ones they've had in a while. But up top, you got Spieth, Thomas, DJ, Leishman, and Rahm. But then Fowler, Matsuyama, Rose, Koepka, and Casey, your boy, all are justifiable winning chances. So the top 10's loaded, and the way DraftKings price, just looking at that, they're obviously they don't look at rankings because you could almost put 3 or 4 of those guys in a lineup without a problem. But yeah, that's for another story. Do you have any other trends you wanted to mention about the FedEx Cup finals?
I don't. Other than traditionally I think it's about the top 5 or 6 guys, at least in the last 6 years, have won, something along those lines. If I remember that tweet correctly, I forgot who tweeted it, but I'm trying to remember, and I tried to find it, and it's been deleted. So, nice.
Well, a couple other stats on this article. The that I sent you earlier that are just interesting. Like when you go to stats you're looking for guys like former winners at the event, if you compare it to the way they were at the Wyndham, if they're a previous winner or fared well at the Wyndham, they usually have a good chance of top fiving here. Previous winners at the Wyndham, like Luke Donald, Henrik Stenson, and then the same year in 13, Henrik won this event. There's a lot of correlations between that tournament and then also your big-time putters and your greens and regulation guys. If they're top 5 in the rankings coming into the tournament or top 5 in the field, they have a much, much better shot. It's just correlated in the past event history. Something to think about.
I'm with you.
With that said, since we did our key stats and everything, let's get into some DFS talk. We, in our little group chat, we sit there and complain because it has been chalk central for the whole FedEx Cup, let alone, I'd say, a month and a half to 2 months.
Yeah.
What are we going to do? Like, obviously, with 30 guys, we're not fading chalk this week, but what's going on, man?
I don't know. Like, I may not even pay attention to fan share this week and just play who I think is best and just go in blind. Because I faded on purpose Leishman last week because I knew he was going to be popular. I didn't play. I played like one lineup with Day. I had 0 Leishman, so I was basically sunk after the first day. Managed to cash a little bit, but either way, so that there's the chalk has been hitting, which if you're trying to avoid it is no fun when it hits. And it's a big battle in PGA DFS because you want to be on the guys, you want to be on the low-owned guys who traditionally make the cut. Of course, when you don't have a cut and the chalk hits, I mean, you literally have no chance. Like if the chalk hits, so say Leishman's 30% last week, well, you got to figure if 20% of those teams get 6-6 through and you get 6-6 through, you don't have Leishman, you have a pretty good chance to actually sneak in and get some cash. If you didn't have Leishman last week, 30% owned, after basically, unless he just somehow tanked, which he didn't, after more or less Thursday, you were just sunk. And it's so annoying. It's so annoying to see. Other than that, I mean, people are still spending almost the full amount of money on their teams. It was 90% at $49,700 or more in the $33 this past week. So
it's just crazy.
Right. That's another battle that people don't think about is getting a unique team if you're trying to, obviously have a better chance at big money. So, this week, I mean, it might be where you want to leave at least 49.5 on the table, but leaving money on the table again is just going to be the best route to take.
Yeah, being unique, it's so key for the GPPs and in any sport, if that's the way to pretty much do it. And, to win the top prize, you still have to have like at least one guy different, but in the past you had to have almost 3 or 4 guys to be kind of different. Right. Nowadays, if you just want to cash, like you said, literally just take the best available player at each price range that you can afford, and you are going to make money right now. It's bananas. Right. And obviously, at least I like to think when we start the next swing where there's barely anybody that people are going to know, the chalk is not going to hit. And it's going to be a lot more fun. It'll be back to, you guys will appreciate listening to this podcast because it's really going to help you and stuff like that. But right now, I'm not going to hide it. You really don't need us right now. I'm just going to sugarcoat it as much as it is. But it's still fun. We still love playing it. This week's not going to be as fun. But
30, I mean, just the 30-man field. It's pretty much hit the nuts or good luck.
Yeah, you almost have to top 5 it.
Yeah,
with at least 4 of your guys, I think. Like, it's going to be crazy. What's your approach this week on a 30-man field?
Now, I've been thinking about this quite a bit. I think I'm going to go with, if I can get there, one lineup, and I'm really going to concentrate on single entries. DraftKings actually has some good contests this week for single entry. They have one single entry championship. I think it's like $15 or something like that to enter. Pretty good payout. And so I think I'm gonna try that route. I've not been having a lot of success trying to spread out ownership. So if I just try to go one, inevitably, I'll probably hit it, hit something at least that's why I'm thinking that I'll get a better core and get a better concentration of the guys that I actually want instead of trying to spread them out over a bunch of different lineups, if that makes any sense.
No, it totally does. I think this week, with a field that small, even last week it could have been a good idea, but a field this small, you almost have to go single entry, 3 entry, unless you have the funds to go 150. Don't toy around with like 5 entries in that, because the big guys will have every single possible scenario taken care of.
Right, just about, yeah.
So you're screwed. So, yeah, I think that single entry is a great idea, and don't play cash, because you're essentially playing cash. Obviously, the cashing point's not the same, the price point, but you're essentially playing cash with 30-man lineups.
Right.
So, with that being said, let's talk some price. We've got 4 guys over 10K on DraftKings: Jordan Spieth, Dustin Johnson, Ricky Fowler, and Jason Day. Who are you approaching in the 10K and above?
I think I'm going to go with Spieth this week, and just the reason being is he's won here before. Obviously, that's pretty massive. But he's also more accurate off the tee, especially, and his putter is my main concern. The other guy that I would look at is Ricky Fowler. He played really well last week, and he can putt lights out at times. So I think those would be the 2 guys. Everybody else up top there, I don't really have much for. Jason Day is above 10,000, which he was below, so that should depress some of his ownership. But either way, I'm not really a big fan of him because he's been very inaccurate off the tee. Like we talked about before, if you're all over the place off the tee, you're going to struggle around here. So. And DJ, I don't know what's up with DJ, man. He finally, like I said, turned it around a little bit on Sunday at the BMW, but before that, I mean, he was just struggle bus all the way around. So I'm on fade train for him, which, you know, maybe he's going to win because of that, because I just said that. That would be fitting.
That'd be Jason Day to a T, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
The 2 guys I have written down here, if I'm making more than one, it's Spieth. If you're paying all the way to the top, you have to go with pretty much the best player, even though he hasn't shown it every round. To me, he is the best player still in this field overall. So Spieth at 11.6, or I will go to Jason Day at 10.1, because one of the biggest things I'm looking at in this tournament, because I am going to just not care and play chalk, I want the most consistent, hottest guys at the time. And Jason Day has been playing really, really good golf when it's mattered here the last few weeks. He's done well in the FedEx Cup events in the past. And this sucks. My page didn't know. There it is. In his last few events, he was 4th last week, and then T25, T6, T9. So you got 3 top 10s in there. Obviously, you want those top 5s. If you're paying 10-1, you almost want the winner. But Jason Day would be the only other guy I'd look at up here. Fowler, I do agree with everything you said, just that inconsistency at times to have that one bad round.
Yeah.
I don't think I can't afford it this week. And I need a guy that I have more confidence in winning the deal. And Fowler just hasn't shown that closing ability. Not saying he can't. We know he's talented enough. He just hasn't shown it yet in the big stage. So I'd go Day or Spieth.
No, that's a good point about Ricky. I mean, he's not been a closer. And, you know, I think for that reason, Jordan is my guy up top this week. So I think I'll have Jordan and then build down from there.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing is Spieth. We've seen it time and time again when it has to come down to it.
Yeah,
he's one of the best in this entire field to just put everything to the side. We've also seen him cry when he hits one in the water, but assuming he stays out of the water, we have a great shot here. Right. And his putter, if it's on, it's scary. Depends on what rankings. I found 2 different Bermuda rankings. One has him out of this field overall 4th on Bermuda. Another one had him 2nd. So he does like putting on the Bermuda. So that's a big plus.
Right.
Let's look at the 9K range. Once again, Jesse, it's got 3 players in it. 3 whole players in the $9,000 range. Yeah. Justin Thomas, John Rahm, and Hideki. What do you got?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm in this range, and one way to potentially differentiate your lineup is to start with like John Rahm. He's the only guy I would have in this range now. You can argue for any of these guys except for Hideki. I don't know what is wrong with Hideki bot, but traditionally, whenever he has played bad, it's been in stretches for 3 or 4 weeks in a row, 5 weeks in a row, and then all of a sudden he's fixed something, he comes out of nowhere and he wins, or top fives or whatever. But at that price of $9,000, I mean, you still got to get a top 5 out of him. I don't see it this week. He did not do anything of any note last week. So his recent form just isn't good enough for any kind of roster ability to me. But I mean, I can see Jon Rahm. He's playing very well. No course history here. We've talked about that in the past. Who cares? But 3 straight top 5s. I mean, hard to argue against that.
Yeah, that's the only guy I had circle here. He's a bomber who has been more accurate than most of late, especially, which is a big plus for me. We've seen him have times where the accuracy leaves the barn. But for the most part, he's there. You mentioned 3 top 5s in his last 3 events. Only 1 round outside of 69 or below, 171 in there at the Dell. He's got 106, 107.5, and 96.5 in his last 3 fantasy point productions. This is a guy like 20 birdies or more in each of his last 2 events. He's got possibilities on those par 5s like we talked about earlier. If you're going to pay in this range, this is the guy I'm looking at. JT meets a lot of those quotes I just made, but Rahm's got the consistency I'm looking for. I'm going to be echoing that over and over again on my picture. But Jon Rahm at 95 is definitely the guy I'm looking at in that range.
Yeah.
In the 8,000s, we have 4 whole guys. Rose, your boy Casey, Leishman, and Koepka. One of the hottest guys on tour is $8,400.
Yeah.
So what do you have on the 8K range? You can almost play all of them.
Leishman coming off a win, obviously, last week, 3 weeks ago now at the Dell. So, yeah, $8,400 for him is actually a really good price. My only thing, obviously coming off a win, how difficult it is to win back-to-back on tour. It doesn't happen very often. So I'll probably be on the fade train again for him. Casey, he's got really good course history, 4th, 5th, and a 4th back in 2010 in his last 3 appearances here. So obviously it's there. I don't know really what his deal was last week. He just didn't hit enough greens, I guess, to win, because his putter was actually there. He's averaging 26 putts around, but only hitting 61 greens in regulation. So that's obviously why the putter was a little bit better. He was doing a lot of scrambling. But at 86, I mean, it's going to be hard to fit in. Basically, what my thinking is if I'm taking Jordan Spieth, I can grab one guy in this range. So anybody between basically Jon Rahm down and still have a comfortable team. And I'll talk a little bit more about that here in a little bit. But Paul Casey is a viable option. Justin Rose also, too, a very viable option. He's coming off a 2nd last week. He placed 2nd here in 2015. So he's actually got 2 second-place finishes, one in 2012 as well. He's got the course history. He fits the mold, too. But, if you're playing a bunch of lineups, I would get exposure to at least Rose, Casey, and Leishman in this area. So I like all 3 of them. But, if I'm going with one lineup, got to make some tough choices.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you there. I love Rose, Casey, and Leishman. If you're only making one lineup, yeah, it's tough. But if you want to be weird, you could have all 3 of those guys and then build around that, because, again, you could see all 3 of them doing it. Rose, amazing course history here. I think he's won, and then a few top, like, second-place finishes or a bunch of top 5. He's done very, very well here. And he's coming in just white hot right now. He's literally outside of Leishman, might be one of the hotter guys. Leishman and maybe even Rahm, because he's top 5 machine. He's got 3 straight top 10s, so he's and again, only 1 or 2 rounds over 70. But Leishman, the only reason why I always agree with it's hard to repeat it on a tour. This is different because there's only 29 other competitors.
That's very true.
Way different. That's why I think there's something here. He showed me a lot last week after the kind of how I'm not going to say blow, it's the right word, the week before at the Dell, but he had that. He could have had that tournament too, and he kind of let it go. And most guys would have came back out and just not had it. Really, really, really good. And at $8,400, he should be owned by everybody, I would imagine. Yeah,
I think he'll be very popular. I don't know. I've seen it go both ways after a guy wins. He's either really popular or nobody's on him at all. So if you are playing him, I would definitely keep the eye on fan share to see where his tags are. But he was averaging 25 putts around, which is insane for 4 rounds of golf. So can his putter stay that hot? You know, that's a great question. I mean, he was hitting a lot of greens. He hit a lot of fairways last week. And he made, obviously, a lot of putts to shoot 23 under. So I don't know. I mean, if his putter can stay that hot, obviously these greens are different. You know, last week we were on different type of green surface. We got Bermuda this week. So that does play a little bit, I think, of a factor. So for me, not going to be on him again. If I get burnt again, you know, it is what it is. But I do like what you just said as far as Rose, Casey, and Leishman. I think after, you know, there's no way I'm going with one lineup. Let's be honest. Who am I kidding?
I know. I keep telling myself that too. It's not going to happen. 3 max. We'll go 3 max.
3 max. That would be fun. All right, that's what we'll do. We'll do the 3 maxes. We'll do the single entries. All right.
It's just it's too tough not to. We're degenerates. That's what we do.
It's too long of a week. It's always till Thursday.
Yeah, you got till Thursday. You look at this pricing where it's so cupcakey to get some of these names. We haven't even got to even more of them that are great. So, yeah, we could definitely do this. Let's drop into the 7K, which has been the bloated range the last few weeks. And it's there again this week. Obviously not as big because of the field size, but it is loaded. Where are you looking at the 7Ks?
Yeah, I mean, one guy who grabs my attention right off the bat is Matt Kuchar. He's he's not a long hitter, but in the past it hasn't really mattered for him as far as on longer golf courses. He's just like a top 10 machine. He has decent course history here. He's never like really blown anything away. A couple top 10s, but you know he comes in and backdoors a top 10 last week, and at 7,700, the guy makes birdies. He makes a lot of pars, which would be okay. So I think he's a good option. Patrick Cantlay again. I mean, I'll go back to him at 7,800. He's just super consistent. You know, he's 9th, 13th, and 10th the last 3 weeks, and he makes a lot of birdies as well. I mean, he can get a little bit squirrely off the tee, but he's a long knocker, and he's there. He's really close to winning, and it'll happen in the next year, I do believe. So I want to be on that train. Another guy who I have highlighted here, Tony Finau. Never played at East Lake, so his first year here, but he's coming off a 7th place finish last week, and he played really well, and the putter was working last week. So, you know, hopefully he can translate that, and obviously he's a long knocker. You know, everybody knows that about Tony. So those would be the 3 guys that I like in this range.
Yeah, Kuchar's my top guy in this range easily. I love his consistency. His accuracy off the tee is going to be huge on this course, I have a feeling. And he's actually been, in the past, pretty darn good on Bermuda greens. So this definitely – one of the others outside of the Wyndham, they compare this to bright green color-wise, but kind of built like an Augusta. And we've seen how well Kuchar can play there. So that really stands out to me. So Kuchar – Cantlay, it's too hard not to. He should almost be as popular as Leishman. He won't be because Leishman just won. But Cantlay, amazing. Next, like you said, next year, if he plays on this this fall swing without a lot of the big names, he's winning at least one tournament. This guy is back.
He'll probably win somewhere in California, I would say, before the official start of the new season in January. I wouldn't put it. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised a bit, but he'll be chalky if he plays.
Oh, yeah. He's playing great. A guy that I usually stay off of, but he made some weird equipment changes last week, and it paid off for him. Sergio Garcia at 79. He's one of the best, if not the best, on Bermudas in the last few years. He changed his putter back. He went back to an old driver also, and he got a T12 after a T35. Every round this past weekend was below 70s. It was in the 60s. He actually looked really, really good for Sergio compared to what we've seen. And at $7,900, we're not looking for a guy that needs to score 20 under. Sergio can get you 8 to 10 under and be in contention. Again, a type course, this fits Sergio very well. So I'm not sleeping on him. Finau at 71 is way too cheap, like you mentioned. Way, way too cheap for his talent level. I'm going to mention almost everybody here, but I just want to – like Hoffman, can do it, but I'm not sold on him. And then Webb, I always hate – but he is one of the most accurate on the tour. And if his putter's working, which is always a big if, but they compare – another comparison was Quail Hollow, which we know is Webb's course. So, but, yeah, if I have to pick just a couple, Kuchar, Cantlay, and then Garcia and Finau would be my other two. But Kuchar, Cantlay would be my 1 and 2 in the 7s.
Yeah, I mean, and we don't even mention, a guy like Kevin Chappell who finished second here last year, and he's coming off a 12th place finish at the BMW. So, I mean, the range is loaded, like you said. I mean, it's kind of like pick your poison down here. I mean, take whatever you want to, and it'll be interesting to see the ownership on some of these guys. This could be the most popular range right here. And
again, if you want to do the whole theory of leaving money on the table, you take the 3 guys in the 8s and then take 3 guys in the 7s, leave a chunk on the table, and see what happens.
Yeah.
I get that. It really could work. I might actually do that in one of my 3 men.
I like it.
About the 6K, we had a few 69. And there's one guy at 63 that stands out like a sore thumb. But what are you looking at in the 6K range?
You talking about Kyle Stanley?
That's ludicrous.
Yeah, I had him highlighted. He's obviously he's actually pretty decently accurate recently. In his recent stats, he's pretty accurate. Hitting about 72% of fairways in the last 6 weeks, but still bombing at 300 yards off the tee. His problem is always his putter. So he's one of those guys that you can take a chance on at 63 because if the putter gets hot, he could be there until Sunday and he'll probably fade away. But at 63, if he gets a top 10, that's paying more than what you really should expect out of that. So other guys in this region, obviously Xander, he's there. I mean, he's interesting, but he's never played here before. He's played a lot of golf this year, and I think he's kind of getting worn down now. He did finish 20th at the BMW last week. He's a bomber. He's not super accurate off the tee, so he's kind of sketched to me, and I might actually fade him. But he is interesting just because he can get hot at any time. Gary Woodland is another guy down here at 6,400. Finished 10th here last year. So if you get a 10th out of him this year at 6,400, you're in very good shape, assuming you have other good golfers, obviously. But 27th BMW last week, 18th the week before that. It's not super accurate once again off the tee, but he's a bomber if the putter gets going once again. So, I mean, there's a few of the guys down here. In a 30-man field, you can really make a case for every single one of these guys. These are 30 of the best golfers in the world. So it's like a major on steroids. I mean, it's fun to watch, but it sucks for DFS purposes.
Yeah, because literally anybody could take it down, but you can't ignore the top. The only problem, you just can't do it.
Right.
Yeah, I 100% agree with Stanley. He's very accurate right now. His greens and regulation of late have been phenomenal. I had him on the PGA side right now. He's number 1 overall on greens and regulation. You mentioned the driving action with him. He's just one of those guys that can contend if his putter's working. Woodland, the course history is huge there, and he's a bomber. If he can, even if he's 60% accurate, he's going to be so much farther down the fairway. That's going to be huge. Right. A guy that burned a lot of people last week and makes it interesting to me is Kisner at 67. I don't know if I'll be on him, but when it comes to driving accuracy, that guy, he's one of the better ones out there. I agree with Xander. Right now, I'd rather take one of these other guys, but would you be shocked? No. So those are the main guys, Stanley, Woodland. I'm going to look at Kisner, and then the last wild card, if you want to look at him, and we usually like him earlier in the year. We were all over Mr. Flatbill, Pat Perez. He's actually played really well the last couple of weeks, a T12 and a T6 in his last 2 tournaments to basically get into the final 30. He's played extremely good golf. So he's a guy to keep an eye on. He'll go super low owned if you are looking for something contrarian with upside. Pat Perez would probably be my guy down here. But if you want a little more comfort, I'd go Woodland or Stanley in that range. But that's kind of what I'm looking at.
Yeah, I like the Perez call. I mean, he's hitting a lot of fairways in his recent form too. So I mean, if he does that again this week, he's not super long off the tee, but he's long enough. So yeah, I like that call. I like the Perez call.
Yeah, I think he'll be way overlooked. So that just makes a little extra edge because those of us that remember, he made us a lot of money early in the year. So that wraps up the players. That was a big 30-man list. What are some of it's core players isn't even the right word. What are for your 3 lineups? What's 1 or 2 guys you think you'll have in all 3 of them? Or at least 2 out of 3.
Okay, so in all 3, I would have Cantlay and Kuchar, and maybe Finau. I don't know, but I think Cantlay and Kuchar are the two mainstays in my lineup. I like, and I just made a lineup like you were just talking about, where you take Rose, Casey, and Leishman. You can still have Cantlay, Kuchar, and Finau, or anybody else down there in that range that you want to. I mean, it leaves enough money on the table. But I also like pairing Jordan with John Rahm, so I'll probably have one that way. And then, like you said, one kind of more quote-unquote balanced with leaving more money on the table. I like both of those ideas.
Yeah, if I'm building, I think Cantlay, Kuchar, and Finau, at least two of them will be in all three of my lineups, one way or another. And then Rose and Casey, one of them for sure. I'll look at Leishman. I almost want to have Rose 100%. I'm really locked in on Rose. I hate it because when he plays well, he becomes ridiculous chalk. Everybody is on him. His name's going to be everywhere. But again, I can't ignore the chalk this week. It is what it is. So Rose, I'm really big on Rose this week. I think he's got a great shot to ball out here.
It's okay to eat the chalk and then just leave money on the table, because even if you have all players over 20% owned and you've left 1,500 on the table, more than likely you've got a unique lineup still. So that makes it okay. And I mean, it sucks to do that, but it's hard. Like you said, it's hard to avoid it this week.
And the other thing, like I know we say on the football podcast, and I think we said it here too, you don't have to eat the chalk at every position. You could like leave money or go to take Pat Perez at your 6K range, and you'll already be different.
Yeah.
There's ways around. There's ways around it, because you're not going to have a completely opposite lineup. There's going to be a lot of crossover.
Right.
Who's your winner this week?
I will go with Jordan Spieth. I think he gets it done this week. So I think I'll probably have two lineups with him in it, and then just have the hedge lineup like we were talking about, more balanced hedge lineup with the balance.
Yeah.
The balance.
I do love Spieth a lot this week. If I'm not going Spieth, I think Justin Rose wins it. I'm sold on him for some reason. I don't know why. I'm just sold on Justin Rose playing really good golf. So I'll go that direction. All right, Jesse, that wraps up this PGA season. Any final words?
That's it, man. It's been another good one. We had another successful Junkies league, and we'll bring that back again next year, make it a little bit bigger and better, hopefully. We'll just continue to grind out even throughout this fall. The fall is actually a fun time to play golf, because there's a lot of unknown, a lot of web.com guys coming on, and we get back to cuts. So it's fun to have a cut and have that sweat on Friday night. And at Cut Sweats comes back.
Yes, we've missed Cut Sweats. That's one of the best parts of my Fridays. Every time that thing pops up on the timeline every like 5 minutes, it's glorious.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll be great. Those events are, like you said, a lot of web.com guys. People have listened to you and I talking on podcasts. We've talked about a lot of the young guns. This is where you get to kind of get the first feel of them, and they're not overshadowed by a bunch of big names. So it's fun. It's good to check it out. But sweet, that'll wrap us up on the Tour Championship preview. Remember, check us out on Twitter at AlwaysPressDFS. Jesse's at DFS Golf Gods. I'm at BDentric. And check out Bucks at BP Snow 11. Go bug him for his information. Make him give it to you. Just like DM him. Slide into his DMs. Give it to him. But until next time, guys, thanks for listening. This was, again, the Always Pressing 2017 Tour Championship preview. Catch you guys later.